Let's start with our first card for beginner stampers. This is using the Free as a Bird stamp set and the Stitch Nested Framelits dies. So the first thing you're going to do is take your paper trimmer and take your 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, put it in your paper trimmer at 4 1/4 inches, and the lighter of the blades is the scoring blade. So you want to score your paper at 4 1/4 inches, flip it around, line it up here at the 5 1/2 mark, and cut the paper in half at 5 1/2 inches. So you will be able to get 80 cards out of your pack of 40 pieces of very vanilla cardstock. Then I'm going to take the bird stamp from the Free as a Bird stamp set, just turn it over and place it on my clear block. I'm going to take my Memento ink and stamp the ink up the stamp. And then take a piece of Whisper white cardstock, and this is just 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to stamp in the middle of the cardstock, I'm going to stamp the bird image. Then I'm going to take the biggest 2 dies from the Stitch Nested Labels dies, and I'm going to, with my die cut machine, going to make one in garden green, the bigger one in garden green, which I've done here. And then I'm going to take the next one and make sure that I frame it around the bird image and run that through my die cut machine, and I will have this when I'm finished. And the image will layer on top of the garden green. It makes a nice layer. Before I adhere the layer to the garden green piece, I'm going to color in the image with my Stampin' Blends. So saffron, old olive, crumb cake, and soft suede. Now that it's colored in, I'm going to adhere it with my multi-purpose glue. You only need a tiny bit of glue. I'm going to adhere that in the center, just like that. To adhere this piece to the front of the card, I'm going to use my Stampin' Dimensionals. So I'm going to flip the image over, and I'm going to use 4 dimensionals, 1 in each corner here. And I'm going to place it a teeny bit, not exactly in the middle, a teeny bit towards the top like that. So I have a little bit of room left at the bottom for the sentiment. I'm going to come back to my Memento ink. I'm using the clear block with the thank you sentiment. I'm going to ink that up and just put it right down here at the bottom, and there you have it. That is your first card. So simple, perfect for the beginner stamper. Like I said, you can make about 80 of them from one pack of very vanilla cardstock. So there you go. Now let's move on to the intermediate card. Once again, here is the beginner card, and here is the intermediate card. So to step up your stamping to this card, we are adding the Flowers for Every Season gems, mini Stampin' Dimensionals, an additional clear block, and some paper snips. I'm going to use this image and this image from the Free as a Bird stamp set. I have a piece of Whisper white cardstock. This is about 1 1/2 inches by 3 inches, and I am going to stamp with Memento ink 2 of the larger flowers and leave a border around them. And then I'm going to take that off, put the smaller flower on there, and stamp one of the smaller flowers. It doesn't matter where you place them because you are going to use your paper snips to cut them out. So now I'm going to use my So Saffron Stampin' Blend, and I'm going to color in the flowers. I'm going to add a little bit of dimension to the center of the flower with my soft suede Stampin' Blend, just a teeny bit. Now I'm going to flip each flower over, and to the two larger flowers I'm going to add just a regular Stampin' Dimensional, and to the smaller flower I am going to add a mini Stampin' Dimensional, which is the perfect size for smaller images. Peel off the backs. And watch how this card goes from beginner to intermediate just by adding the flowers. Just going to place them over here. You'll notice I put one a little bit underneath the other and then the smaller one in the center. And now let's take this card even one step further by adding, like I did on the sample here, the gems to the center of the flower, and it'll really make the card pop. So once again, I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue, and I'm going to use 3 of the green gems from the Flowers for Every Season gems. I love the multi-purpose glue. I have ignored this forever because it always frustrated me. But now that I learned that I was always using too much, it is one of my favorite products and I can't live without it. So I'm just gonna put a tiny, tiny dot in the center of each flower, tiny. Just a little bit bigger than the head of a pin. And then with my finger, I'm just gonna take the gem and drop it on top of the multi-purpose glue. And there you have it, just a few more products. We went from beginner card to intermediate card. It's so lovely, it will definitely wow your friends. And now let's move on to the advanced card and you will really wow your friends. So let's review once again. This is beginner, intermediate, and ta-da, the advanced card. So for this card, we are adding in to our supplies crumb cake classic pad, some ribbon from the Forever Greenery trim pack. This is the birch cling stamp. This is a background stamp, a bone folder, and instead of the clear blocks, we're going to use the Stamparatus. The bone folder is a fabulous tool to make all of your card folds look completely 100% professional. Even though they are scored, you score the card when you use the paper trimmer. If you fold it in half along the score line and then crease it again with the bone folder, you will get a very beautiful and professional fold on your card with the bone folder. So for the advanced card, we fold the cardstock with the bone folder. To get the background image, you want to start with a piece of very vanilla cardstock, and this measures 3 3/4 by 5. Like I said, you can use your clear blocks, but for this, I'm going to use the Stamparatus because we are advanced stampers now. So what I'm going to do is place the cardstock up here in the corner of the Stamparatus. And because I'm going to cover the entire thing, I don't need to use the magnetic pieces to hold down the cardstock. And the stamp set will cling to, the stamp will cling to the top of the Stamparatus. So maybe I want to position it down a little bit more like that. And then I just want to make sure that the entire piece of cardstock gets covered by the stamp. So I can see there that the whole thing will be covered. So now what I'm going to do is take my Crumb Cake Classic ink pad, and I am going to really ink up, juice up this entire stamp. And it doesn't matter if this doesn't come out perfectly because it is a background stamp and we just want to give the illusion of dimension. So I inked it all up, and now all I'm going to do is flip it over, press it down evenly, firmly, and there is my background. Now what's so great about this is you'll see that I didn't press hard enough here, so it's blank right there, but I'm just going to move it back, press it again, and there you have it. I can also use the Stamparatus for this small sentiment that is going to go right down here at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is place it on the cardstock where I want it to be stamped. And then because it's clingy, I'm going to flip over the lid, press it down, and it picks the stamp up and carries it with it. So I'm going to ink that up with my Memento ink. Flip it over, press it down, and there I have my piece of background paper. I cut the ribbon at about 18 inches, so I'm going to tie it in a bow. Make sure it's flat on the back. I'm going to tie it in a bow on the side of the card, and I'm going to tie the bow as closely as I can to the side of the cardstock. I want it to be really, really tight on there. Okay, and now I'm going to just trim the ends. Give it a little trim and another little trim. There we go. Now I have already done this part, so we don't have to go through that again, and I'm just going to stick this here. Like I said, I want this to be really tight up to the side, and I'm going to adhere the bird piece right there like that. Flip it over. Use just a hairline of the multi-purpose glue. That's all you need. Stick it on the front of the card, and there you have it. You just went from beginner to intermediate to advanced stamper just by adding a few different supplies. I have all the supplies listed on my blog, and they're broken down: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. I'll also list them at the bottom of this video on my YouTube channel. I would love it if you could give this video a thumbs up. If you could also please subscribe to the channel and click the little bell button so that you'll receive an email every time I post a new video. I want to thank you so much for watching and following along, and take it, step it up. 1, 2, 3. Beginner, intermediate, and advanced.